So I'm Suzanne Adams. Obviously, you know that if you're here. And tonight we're talking about how to achieve your dreams and really how to tap into your highest potential and get past what I like to call surface level happiness. And I want to be very, very clear. I do not think that I have it all figured out. I don't think that I know everything, but I do believe as spiritual teachers, we are always learning, and you have to teach as you learn, or otherwise we would have no teachers. So I have learned a lot, and I have studied a lot, and I do have a lot of tools, and I am excited to share them with you tonight. So surface level happiness to me is someone that, first of all, it's how I lived a long part of my life until I was really aware of a new way. And to me, surface level happiness means that you are too busy to sit with your own thoughts, trying to be something and be someone that everyone else expects you to be. And I know a lot of us are trying to please a lot of different people in our lives. And for me, I was constantly I never had my own real identity, and I wasn't even aware that I didn't have my own identity because I was too busy trying to please someone or make someone proud or reach some achievement that I thought I needed to have. And I wasn't even really sure what it was. I wasn't sure what I was born to do. I really wasn't sure about how to be happy. And so I created my own surface level happiness that anyone who saw me thought I was always happy. And I was, like, there were moments, like, I did have a decent, happy life, but inside, there was no depth to it. And, you know, the thing for me with the surface level happiness is I wouldn't ever take the time to sit with what was up. Like, if something started to come up for me, I would stay busy, and I would get, my social calendar would be full. I would just be moving and moving and moving. And the second I sat still, I started to feel stuff, and I said, and I would find something else to do. And so it wasn't until it got so bad for me to a point where I wasn't really able to, I don't want to say function, I wasn't really able to pretend anymore. It got to a point where I knew that there was more for me, and I knew that there had to be a better way. And so at that point, you know, it was everything that I had let build up. It didn't really feel good coming out. And so my goal and my intention is to spread this very joyful gospel of, you know, we can all do this, and it's not that hard to have depth, and it's not that hard to achieve your dreams if you can just take a few little tools, and if you can understand that you're here for a reason, you were born for a purpose, that happiness is your birthright, and that really you should be able to live a truly joyful and happy, you know, not surface level, depth, you know, deep happiness. And so that's really my goal and my mission, is to teach people to tap into that. So I'm excited about tonight's topic. So the first step is all about believing in yourself. And this is a tough one because we are busy, typically as women, we want to serve other people and put everyone else first and not to attend to ourselves. And most people, including me, are raised in a way to think that that loving yourself is selfish and believing in yourself is maybe egotistical. And there's nothing further from the truth, because law of attraction says that we attract the people and circumstances that treat us the way that we treat ourselves. And if you're not believing in yourself, then how can you expect other people to believe in you? And how can you expect other people to want to hire you to do things? And how can you expect other people to take you seriously? So this is one, I think, that if you go within and look at the core of who you are, a lot of stuff starts to come up from your childhood or just circumstances where you maybe don't believe in yourself. And I am here to tell you that you wouldn't be living and breathing in this body if you weren't supposed to do what it is that you desire. And if you have a desire, it is meant to be yours. And by the time the desire is in your awareness, consciousness, that means it's possible, or you wouldn't have the desire. So when you have these thoughts, it's important to honor them and to really believe yourself and to get in a place of standing in your power in that way. And if you just say the prayer, like, help me to believe in me the way that you believe in me. And I don't care who you're praying to, but, you know, say that prayer. And if when you're connecting to your higher power and you're saying that prayer, things and opportunities will show up to help you. And I want to share a story. I love in-person events. It takes a lot to create them, which is why most people don't do them, but there is magic when you come together. And even tonight, just for the hour and a half that we're together, stuff will open up and transform, and you'll be inspired, and you'll leave a change. But then when you go somewhere with the intention of growth and expansion for a few days, or when you sign up to do something every single week, or whatever it is for you, that's when you really start to be propelled forward, and when you really start to invite in divine forces to help you. And so I was hosting a retreat in Sedona in the fall, and there was this woman who wanted to come, and she was messaging me, and she said, you know, I really want to come. I'm going to see if I can work it out. And I could see her light, and just her light was so big, and her potential was so big, but her physical body was so contracted. And I was like, oh man, this would be so good for her. Like, yeah, I would love to have you at this retreat. And so she ended up saying, like, I don't think it's going to work out, because there were some travel logistics and stuff that weren't going to work out. And I was really bummed, because I was like, okay, this could have been life-changing for her. And so she ended up, like, 2 weeks went by, and she messaged me, and she had said she wasn't going to come. So I said, okay. So 2 weeks she messaged me, and she said, you're not going to believe it, but, you know, basically miracles happen, and I am signing up for your retreat today. I am so excited. So when she got to the retreat, on the first evening, when she came in, and I'd never met her in person. You know, I feel like I have lots of friends from Facebook now. I've never actually met in person, but especially when you're in this community, you just connect. It's a beautiful way to connect with people. So I knew her from Facebook, but I had never met her in person. And so she walked into this retreat, and it was just like I had imagined. Like, she has this beaming light, but she is very contracted. And I could tell right away her issue was that she needed to believe in herself. And that was pretty much all that she needed to really propel forward. So at this retreat, you know, what happens when you're in these containers that are just really, really held for you, you feel, it's like you feel exponentially the love that you have, and the love that God has for you, and the love that we have for each other. And she sat there the first night, and I watched, you know, her energy start to expand, and I witnessed her witnessing all of these other women, seeing her for her truth, and seeing her for who it is that she was born to be, and believing in her. And what happened was that started mirroring back to her. So she started, you know, each time I saw her throughout the retreat, she got a little more open, and a little more open, and a little more open. That last night, she was like, this is awesome! And I mean, she was just beaming, and I was like, oh my God, I was just like, it makes me emotional just even thinking about it. Everyone there was beaming after that. I mean, how can you not be? But especially her. And I remember thinking, you know, having the conversation with her, how different do you feel? And she said, I believe in myself. And she said, I think I can do anything now. And that momentum that she created in those few days that we were together has changed her entire life. And watching her now, so that was in September, watching her, I follow her online, and watching her just elevate, and watching her business expand and grow, and watching her visibility, you know, how her just really getting out there and really taking these new steps. And it's all because she followed her instinct, and she got herself in a situation that would help her to believe in herself. And you know, she did it. I'm not up here trying to take credit. I want to be very clear. Like, she did what she needed to do, and you know, with God and the divine helping her. But it's really beautiful. And my point to this story is believing in yourself. That is the first step, and that is the most powerful step. Is if you believe in yourself and you hold that energy, it is felt. So it is so important, if you want to achieve your dreams, to believe in yourself. And you cannot ask other people to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself, because how can they? They see what you show them. So that to me is just one thing that I think is very, very glossed over. And for me, I had to do a lot of worthiness work to believe in myself, because I wasn't even something I was aware that I needed. But when I got into my awakening, and when I got into wanting a better way, I was really, really realizing that I didn't feel worthy, and therefore I had attracted a lot of circumstances and relationships that mirrored that. And there were aspects of my life that were not mirroring that, because those were the aspects of my life that I felt very confident and believed in myself. But there were certain aspects I didn't, and that's where I was attracting those circumstances to show me. And so really what it took me committing to do whatever I needed to do to get my courage and to believe in myself. And so I think that that's really important step. And I think, we all have busy lives, and a lot of times that can fall back, but it's really important to bring that to the forefront of what it is that you're doing if you're ready to elevate. And we're all ready to elevate. This is the time for that, and this is the time for growth and expansion. So I want to talk about, make sure I didn't miss anything. Have y'all ever heard of Bronnie Ware? She does these end of the life studies, okay? And it's really interesting. So she's a spiritual teacher in her own right, and she goes around or at one point went around because she was curious about people that were dying and how they felt, and any regrets that they may have had. So she started to do a study where she went around and asked people that had terminal disease on their deathbed what their biggest regret was. And I'm like, that's really actually very interesting to do, because what she said is it was amazing how it didn't matter who she was talking to, how wealthy they were, how poor they were, how young, how old. She said it was all very, very similar. And I wrote them down because I want to be sure and read them exactly right. But so the single biggest regret that people have when they're on their deathbed, the first one is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And that goes to believing in yourself. And the second one was, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. So basically, essentially, these people that are on their deathbed are wishing that they would have believed in themselves and not tried to fit into the box that they tried to fit themselves into. And, again, I can so relate to this because I did that for a majority of my life. And so, in case you can't tell, I'm very passionate about this. And I just think it's really important to believe in yourself in that way. Yes? Talk to us about worthiness exercises. Worthiness exercises. So it's about, an easy one is the conversation that you're having in your head, because we all have a conversation that's happening in our head. And thoughts become things, and words, it's actually moving me right into step number 2, where, the story that I was about to tell, and I'll just go ahead and tell, is words and thoughts are like signals that we're emitting. And Tony Robbins tells a story about how, you look at a TV, they're invisible waves going into a TV, and then all of a sudden you see a movie or you see your show, and then you change the channel and there are new invisible waves, and you see that. And so the point of saying that is that your thoughts and your words have invisible waves and have feelings, have a vibration. So when you're stepping into wanting to feel worthy and be worthy, you have to watch the cycle that's playing in your head. When you look down at your arm, is there a negative thought that comes up? For me, when I was doing this, there was. I would look at a body part, and an ugly thought would come into my head. And so you just correct it, and you just say, you're not pale. If you're looking at your skin, or whatever the thought is, no matter how silly it is, or, I love you. And you start to have the way that you would talk to your children. To your baby that you're really happy at that day. And start to have these conversations where you're nurturing yourself and you're treating yourself in this really newfound way, where you're honoring the time that you need. That's probably the biggest mistake I see is people shelving the time to soak in a bath, to read a nice book, to take a walk, to go to yoga, to do whatever it is that you need to do, to get a Reiki session. Jen is a very wonderful Reiki healer up here. So that's an exercise, and there's several too, and I'll point them out as I'm going through. So step number 2 is focus on what you want with intention and ease. And so this is where the kind of the Tony Robbins story comes in. So I was listening to a talk with Tony Robbins, and he was saying how the whole thing about the waves. And he said, you know, if you would have told us 40 or 50 years ago that we would have these little boxes that we could like hit a button on and then be live streaming to the entire world, no one would believe you, right? So he said, it's there again, they're the invisible waves. And he said, it's like a channel. And so he was talking about all of our emotions, and it's like channels, and either we're on this channel or we're on this channel. And when I'm talking about healing work and how to reframe your mind and mindset and the importance of that and the importance of focusing on what you want, the way I do it is I say, witness your thought, know it's not your truth. So your truth is only something that feels good. If you have a thought and it makes you cringe and you don't feel good, that's not your truth. That, you know, the movies where they have like the little devil and the little angel, you know, like you can kind of think about it like that. So I'll envision like a little shadow and a little angel. And you pull the shadow out and you just witness it and you say, that's not my truth, you're not me, and I won't have that. And then you fill yourself back up with a thought that you want, like I am beautiful, I am joyful, I am worthy, I am enough. That's a good one. I am enough. You know, whatever it is that you want. And the way Tony Robbins was describing it was, he was saying you check in with where you're suffering. And he says suffering is the most selfish thing that you can do. And when he said that, I was like, wait a second. And he said, you think about it, suffering is the most selfish thing you can do. And he said, because when you're suffering, you're focused on self. He said, you were so focused on self. He said, we mainly only do this in the United States. He said, you go to other countries where people are starving, they're not suffering because they're having fun and they're in community and they're serving each other and they don't even know like how we live. He said, but you get in the United States and everyone is suffering because they're so focused on self. And I was like, that's actually really true. So he says to start to think about where it is that you're suffering. So are you suffering because you feel lack in some way? Are you suffering because of a depression? Are you suffering because, I don't know, whatever it is, maybe you feel sad that day, and you figure out what your trigger is. And then he said, once you figure out what your trigger is, you take action and you say, I'm breaking this pattern now. And before you let, you know, he said you let the demon get like Godzilla, you squash it. Because the more that you're focused on yourself, the more that demon is going to grow. So you want to focus on what you want and not, you know, focus on what you want with ease and with grace and not what it is that you don't want. And it's hard because we're also like so busy focusing on what we don't want. So I've been working these steps all day today. I'm not even going to lie. Because we're always growing. And so I am in the middle of 2 pretty big launches. I'm about to finish up a launch of a digital course that I'm doing that's called Write Your Book, Change the World. And Jen is actually in it. And so I think there's maybe even somebody else in here too. And so I've been really going big with that, and it's been so fun, and it's been amazing, and it's been really cool to see the breakthroughs that people are already having. But as we step into the truth of who we are, our ego gets big and likes to tell us things. And so I have a pretty high goal for what I want to accomplish for this launch. And so I've heard that voice for the last couple of days saying, who do you think you are? Like, how do you think all those people are going to do this? And da-da-da-da-da-da. And I sit there and just witness, you know, that is not my truth. That will not allow that in my space. And I say, like, I am serving the world with my gifts. I am empowering people. I am inspiring people. I am doing this of service. I'm doing this in full alignment with the essence of who I am and who my soul is supposed to be. And, you know, it takes a minute, and it's like you say it enough until you believe it. And so for me, instead of focusing on, you know, the part of my goal I'm missing, I'm focusing on the part of my goal that I've already hit and all of the people that I'm already serving. And it's just really funny to watch. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I think as we grow, it's just a different level and a different scale, and it gets easier. For sure, but you definitely have a lot of these things. So another example that I wanted to give with this is, well, first I want to say just deciding now that you're going to focus on what it is that you want and not what you don't want. And understanding that when you bring that into your awareness, that's what you're going to get more of. And to finish off what Tony Robbins said too, this is really important. He said, once you figure out your trigger, your suffering, then you fill it back up with appreciation or joy or gratitude. Because when you're in the state of appreciation, you cannot be in the state of suffering. So when you can vibe with, what am I appreciating? What am I appreciating? You know, and again, today I really was thinking all of this, and I was like, I'm appreciating everyone that's showing up for my talk tonight. I'm appreciating all of the stuff that I've accomplished. I'm appreciating my gorgeous home. I'm appreciating, you know, you start to just appreciate and revel in that, the outfit that you're wearing, the bed that you had to sleep in. And when you start to get in that, then you start opening up space for more of it to come in. And I was obsessed with the Hay House World Summit CDs for 2 years. Like when I learned about this summit in 2014, I got these CDs and I put them in my car and I listened to them and I listened to them and I listened to them. And I was like, ooh, who's that? And every person that would be on there, I'd look them up, I'd start following them online. And I loved the Hay House CDs. And I did this for 2 straight years. And then most of you know the story, but I wrote the book, Musings of an Earth Angel, and 3 months after that book came out, I got a phone call from Hay House asking me to be a speaker at the summit. And so I was like, oh my God. So I was a speaker next to Deepak Chopra, Gabby Bernstein, Chris Carr, Esther Hicks, 30 plus New York Times bestselling authors. I admired all these people. I looked them up. And I swear it's because the Hay House Summit was in my forefront, and I was so focused on that. And I listened to those CDs day in and day out for almost 2 years. I mean, I'm not saying that would happen to everyone that listens to those CDs, but you know, it's also similar like when you're looking for a car, and then you find a car that you've never seen before, and then all of a sudden you see 10. You know, that the next day. It's because it's in your awareness, and we attract what's in our awareness. And so that's why it's so important to focus on what you want with grace and with ease. Because when you're so focused, that's contracting, and that's not an energy that you're going to receive in. So you want to be focused in a way that you can do it with grace and with ease. Okay, so there is something that I learned from Michael Beckworth about this, and this is, and we're still on step 2, which is focusing with ease. Yeah, you can, no, please, go ahead.
Step 1.
Step 1 is believing in yourself.
Oh, okay, and I'm taking notes, I'm not texting.
No, I know, but please. Okay, so mindset is everything, and this is something that I learned from Michael Beckworth. I was watching him on Oprah, and he says, talk more about possibilities of what can be versus your problems and your complaints. Because when you focus on the problems and the complaints, then that's what you get more of. And so, hi, come on in. You guys can come up here. There's seats up here. So when you're focused on possibilities versus complaints, things open up for you. So again, like for me, I'll just be real. And one of the things that I've really been wanting to manifest and call in is like deep soul partner love. Like I'm very in tune with energy. I can energetically feel that it's pretty much time and feel a connection. And so instead of being like, where the hell is he? Which I have been like a couple of times, I'm not gonna lie. I've really worked to get to a place where I'm like, okay, let's look at the possibility. Like, let's flip this and be like, all right, I've done so much inner work, which means I am gonna attract a man that has done a lot of this inner work as well, right? So, I could also be, instead of being like, why is this taking so long? I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna get to have this lifelong partner that we can travel the world together, and it's gonna be better than I could ever imagine. And so you start to get from a place of looking at possibilities and what's possible instead of looking at problems and complaints. And I thought that that was a really good tip that he had said. So that's kind of the last part of step 2. Step 3 is adding value and service to others. So this is twofold. So for example, like in your career, you can do this. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. So one way is to be very pleasant to people that you interact with, which sounds easy. Sometimes it is, some days it's not. But you know, it doesn't matter where you are, who you're interacting with, if you can bring a smile to them, that is a ripple effect that goes out into the world. If you can, even just at the grocery store, or when you show up to work, just being a happy person to be around, people feel that and they mirror that, and looking for people's good qualities and thinking about at work and in your personal life how you can add value to others. So it really doesn't matter what you're doing. There's always a way that you can add value to others. So like for me, with the book course that I was talking about, like all I've done with that course was think about how can I add value to someone that has a message that can help the world. And what happened, I wrote my book and people started messaging me saying, I have a story to tell, but I don't know where to start. I want to write a book, but I have no idea what to do. And I'd spent the last 3 years figuring out how to write a book, how to launch a book, how to build a platform, how to start a business, how to do all this. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to create something of value that can really serve people in a really cool way. Same with the retreats and the summits that I do. Like I want to be of service in that. So that's a way. But then regardless of what it is that you're selling, you can be the person that's always like a good customer service and adding value. And what happens when you do that is you get it back. What you put out energetically, you get back. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe in 6 years. But it always comes back to you. And I'm training with Lewis Howes right now. It has been really fun. And he is a New York Times bestselling author. He has blown me away with how heart-centered he is. I mean, he's a multimillionaire. He interviews like celebrities and does all of this stuff. And all he wants to do is make the world a better place. And it's very apparent to me. And his main thing that he thrives on is adding value to others. And he spent his entire career connecting people and trying to add value to people. And so he started on LinkedIn, and he said what he started doing was finding influencers that had a need. And so he would find their need, and then he would go vet people and figure out who would be a great fit, and then he'd connect the two. So this person's like, yo man, you just got me this great job, and this guy's like, you just saved me up to pay a recruiter and to do all this stuff, and he started connecting people. So then what would happen is he had all these influencers saying, how can I help you? Like, what can I do to help you? And he said he never would ask anyone, like, for favors. He said he always would just be of service to influencers and to people that he respected. And what he wanted to do was be able to interview people that inspired him. And today he's actually on the Ellen Show doing an interview on Ellen today. I'm very excited to see that. And so there was an opportunity to train with him, and it was a very expensive, probably the most expensive like coaching thing that I've done, but I didn't flinch. Like I was like, here, like I knew that it would catapult me. And I believe money is an energy exchange, and it's really important to invest in people that are going to support you on that level. And he's even actually doing a call for all the women in my Write Your Book, Change Your World boot camp. And he's not charging me to do that. And he charges $10,000 an hour to get on the phone with him. So it's really, just goes to show like you can catapult quickly like that from being of service and adding value. And, in sales, you're always taught to add value to the customer. And I think that like when we can all think that way and start to try to add value to our neighbors and our friends and our spouses, it can really change everything. And so when you're on the way to wanting to achieve your dreams and you start to add value and be of service, A, you get out of your own way because you're not focused on yourself, and B, it really helps because you get back what you're putting in there, and people do want to help you when you help them. I mean, think about it. When someone has helped you before, you're always like, what can I do? Like, how can I feel that way. When people help me, I'm like, any way I can support you, let me know, because you want to give back, and it's a beautiful exchange. So, that's step 3. I want to talk a moment about human connection, because we are all live in a world where including me, where we have our noses in our phones. I was doing a book signing at one of the bookstores on campus in Atlanta, a while back, and everyone had earphones in, and they had their phones, and they were just walking through, like not even looking up. And I was like, hey, I'm over here, you know, like all the adults came through, but all the students, I was honestly blown away because I didn't realize how bad it, like I know it's bad, like I'm definitely addicted. You do get a dopamine hit when you start looking at your phone. It is an addiction, and I'm guilty of it, but I didn't realize how bad it was for college students. And I'm like, I cannot imagine having that at that age and younger even. So that's like a whole nother thing that we have to kind of figure out how to do. You can probably relate. So I just think that human connection is so important. And that's why one of the reasons I love to create community and to do things like this. And so if you can get into the attitude of how can I add value and how can I add connection? Because while there is so much benefit from online, I do agree that like online community is amazing. Things can happen quickly. You have the world at your fingertips in a sense when you start to do that. But you have to understand too that like we can't give up the physical to be able to shake someone's hand and give them a hug and connect. So I wanted to do a little exercise. So if we can all just stand up for just a moment. And let's see if the rows can just come together. I want you guys to be like where your hands are touching each other. So I want everyone, I just want to set the intention that we're all going to feel the love and the light in this room and from each other. And I want to do just another quick little meditation while we're standing. So if everyone can just close your eyes and breathe deeply into your heart. And then exhale through your mouth. Do that one more time. And exhale. And just feel the love, feel the energy of this room. It's really beautiful what we've created in a very short time. Breathing in deeply, opening your heart, letting go of any guard that is up. You're safe. Feeling the support of the person next to you and in front of you.
Unconditional self-love.
Claiming and owning right now to share this, to share it in your own heart, in your own home,
There's no anger.
at your work, wherever it is that you are going.
Hypnotize yourself into that relationship with yourself now.
Breathing deeply. Picturing yourself doing something of service for someone else. Feeling, sorry, I didn't mean to turn the music off. Feeling the strength of each other. Putting your hands on your heart now. Breathing into your heart center. Feeling the worthiness. Feeling the belief in yourself. Knowing that you don't have a desire if it is not meant to be yours. And that you are worthy. Breathing in deeply, exhaling, and when you're ready, You can open your eyes. See, isn't it fun having community and being able to feel that? Thank you for participating in that. And y'all can sit, you don't have to spread, everyone doesn't have to spread out. Y'all can just sit down. That to me is just a touch of what you can do when we start to come together. And it's really powerful to me in 5 minutes of standing there with intention, what you feel energetically. And it's powerful. You know, I laugh because we always say there's power in numbers. And if you ever listen to Abraham Hicks, they say that's not true. There's power in alignment. But there's power when you have alignment in numbers. And, you know, your energy is your God force. It is your gift that you're born with. And no one can take that away from you. And what you do with it is up to you. And you can do so much with your energy. And it's so beautiful and so expansive when we come together and when we get in community and when we open ourselves up to that. So thank you guys for participating in that exercise with me. So before we go to step 4, I want to do just another exercise. You don't have to get up or move for this one. Just close your eyes and I'm going to say something and I want you to think of the first 3 things that come to mind. So if money was no object, you can do anything in the world, what are the top 3 things that bring you joy? So just thinking just in general, what are the top 3 things that bring you joy? Anything that can come up, let it come up. Don't try to censor what's coming through or what's coming up. Again, what are the top 3 things that bring you the most joy? And then when you open your eyes, if you want to write them down, you can, or if you'll just remember them. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Did anyone have anything that surprised them come through? And you don't have to share, you don't have to talk, that's okay. But I wanted to do that because the next step is all about life purpose and really stepping into what it is that you were born to do and connecting to your higher power. So that's step 4. And we get in these ruts where we feel like we have to do something and we feel like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do because this is the training I have, or this is what I'm supposed to do because this is just always how I pay my bills. And I'm not saying that that's not right, but what I am saying is that your life purpose is something that elevates you. Your life purpose is something that you feel good and you feel joy about. And when you align with your life purpose, you get calls from Hay House asking you to be in the World Summit. You know, you get magic starts to happen and things really start to line up for you. So when you can get into a place of alignment, there's so much power. Gary Zukav, who's the author of The Seat of the Soul, he calls it authentic power. And that book rocked my world. I don't know if any of y'all have read it, but I read it at the time I was really awakening and I was like, how have I gone my whole life without knowing all of this? And, you know, he talks about aligning the personality with the soul. And that's really, it is true. It's authentic power. And it's authentic power because, when you get involved in that, you feel like you're lit up in a way that nothing else can light you up. You're fulfilled in a way that nothing else can light you up. And you know, you're searching. For me, I was searching. I was always searching. I was searching externally through the relationships, through the career achievements, through the opinions of others, through the validation of others, anything. You know, I was searching and I didn't even know what I was searching for. And so when you get into that place of knowing what you're searching for, it's really freaking fulfilling because you're like, oh, this is the feeling I've been looking for. And I'm not saying that it's always easy because sometimes you have to go backward before you go forward just a little bit. It's, you know, it's like I've used this analogy before, the piece of furniture. When you have a piece of furniture, it's got a few scrapes and, you know, you think you can make it look better. And so then you strip it all down and then it looks way worse and you're tired of dealing with it. You just want to go buy a new piece of furniture at that point. But then when you put a little more TLC into it and it's done, it's beautiful and it's gorgeous and it's way better than it ever was. And that's a lot, you know, it's a great analogy to really stepping into the truth of who you were born to be and aligning with your purpose, because when you do that, the gates open, the sky's open, and the pathway is cleared. And it's not always easy, especially without support, which is why I love creating these communities and why really is I feel it's my mission to mentor people that want to do that, because we do need support, because the outside world says we're crazy, and the outside world says you have to do this and this and this, and the outside world doesn't think thoughts become things, but they do. And so it's really important to get yourself in a place of understanding that. Let's see. So again, just understanding that you have a very specific and unique life purpose, and you're the only one that can accomplish that. And I've been saying this a lot lately because I've been teaching the writers group, but people are scared to share their message. And this is applicable to anything. You have certain people that you were born to serve, okay? So it's like a divine puzzle. And when everyone aligns in their place, it's like the puzzle starts to come together, and then we all feel like peace and harmony. And that's essentially like the goal, I guess, is to really bring those higher vibrational feelings down and ground them in the earth. And so when you're thinking about what your mission and what it is to do, you're supposed to do for your purpose, there are people waiting on you to serve them. And, that could look however it looks. Maybe it's at a corporation, maybe it's, as an entrepreneur, maybe it's as a yoga teacher, maybe it's as an author, maybe it's as a speaker. Like, you never really know until you get to that place. And what you have to understand is there are people waiting on you to serve them that are only going to resonate with your exact mission, your exact message, and the way that you say it. Like, sometimes you can hear 10 people say one thing, the same thing, and then you don't, a 10th person, you're like, oh, I get it now. And you've heard 10 other people say it, and you didn't really resonate with it until that one person said it, because for whatever reason, that's the person that you resonated with. So we all have a message that we're supposed to share, and it's unique to you and to your experiences. And, some people are supposed to share to millions and thousands, and some people are supposed to share to 10 people. It just depends. But when we all start to come together is with our own specific unique purpose is really when you start to align, and that's when you're in authentic power. And we all have the ability to tap in on an intuitive level in a new way. I believe that we are in the middle of a worldwide awakening of people looking for a better way, people owning their power and owning their truth, and understanding that we come here for a reason and for a purpose and to help. And now more than ever, that's true. And so it's like, as you start to tune into this, and as you start to commit to meditation, as you start to understand that there is a deeper connection and a higher connection, and that you can get that guidance, it will guide you. And it's really important to tune into your inner guidance system, because your inner guidance system knows the way. You don't know the way with your ego. No one knows the way. And so, like, what I teach my clients to do is to really tune in to their higher power and follow guidance in that way. And it's really important, I believe. So step 4 is all about lining with your purpose and tapping into your authentic power. And then one other thing I want to say about that is, as you start to ask for a better way, and as you start to commit to really achieve your dreams and do what it is that you were born to do, you'll be guided. You'll have ideas to go a certain place, or to read a certain book, or to go on a retreat, or whatever it is, for you to listen to an inspirational talk. And then you're like, oh, now I know I was supposed to do that. So you'll know, your body, you'll feel the urge to do it. And so it's really important to honor that, and to not just think you're crazy, and to know that things will start to come through. I was on the phone with an intuitive yesterday, and she said that when she first started awakening, she was really scared, and she didn't know much about it, and that she started to hear voices in her head. And she said she was like, is that God? And I just started laughing because, I guess it's different what it is to everyone. But I thought it was really funny to hear her say that. So, like, when you get the nudges or you get the ideas, you're being guided by something bigger, and we all have access to it. And it's not weird, it's normal, and it's really, really beautiful, actually. So I thought that was funny. It would give y'all a good laugh. So step 5 is don't stop until you're genuinely excited and joyful about your daily activities. So again, if you have a desire, if the desire has made it into your awareness, it is meant to be yours. You are born for greatness. You are born to have a joyful life, and you're born to make your dreams come true. And I think that we all are, and it's really important to understand that and to resonate with that and to go for it. And you don't want to be one of the people that's on your deathbed, like the studies that I was showing earlier, that say you wish you would have had the courage to go after your dreams, and that you wish you would have had the courage not to do what everyone expected of you, and that you wish you would have followed your calling, because now is the time. And it's so important to take action, and it's so important to stay in that momentum and to get the support you need and to surround yourself with like-minded people that will elevate you and lift you up, because we cannot do this alone. It's hard, and it's hard when you try to separate yourself and you don't have support and you don't have community. And it's really important to look at what other people are doing and see that as an example, to be inspired as to what is possible. I don't believe there is competition. And I believe that when you are jealous of something, it's your own guidance system telling you of what you desire. And so if you can start to, jealousy is natural. When you're like, oh man, I wish I was doing that, you know. Lewis Howes is on Ellen DeGeneres today. I wish that was me, you know, and you have these things, or look at what she has. And if you can really start to say, go, you know, you do that, show me what's possible. And if he can do it, so can I. And if she can do it, so can I. And there's no reason that we all can't have these things and do these things. And when you can really vibe with that and don't stop, that's the main thing I want to say, because I see people get together in rooms like this with conversations like this, and then they're ready, and then it's like the next day they're back at work and it's just over. So it's like you have to really commit, and you have to do what it takes to get you to where it is that you want and that you choose to be. And I want to give an example of someone who didn't give up, and she's very glad on this day that she didn't give up, I'm sure. So think J.K. Rowling, who's the author of all of the Harry Potter books. She was in poverty and welfare with her children, and she was just writing. She knew she was just writing her books and writing her books and writing her books. And it was a couple of years, I believe, and she had, if I remember correctly, 10 to 15 publishing houses turn her down. And if you know anything about books or writing, you know, searching for an agent, 10 to 15 to tell you no is no big thing. There are thousands of agents, but 10 to 15 publishing houses to tell you no is a lot. And she didn't care, and she kept going, and she kept going, and she kept going. And thank goodness she did, because now she's one of the richest people in the world that is doing so much good for the planet and is inspiring thousands. And her books have brought so much joy, not only through the books, but also through the movies. And just think, if she didn't have the courage and the gumption to go for it. And there's tons of stories like that, but that's just one that I really like. So I think it's really important to honor that. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So, like you said, you see people who are so positive and willing to do it tonight, then they go to work the next day. Like, how do you, because you go out into the real world and there are so many negative thoughts, you're on your phone, you're distracted, how do you stick with it? What techniques do you have for that?
Okay, so her question, in case everyone couldn't hear, is she's asking how do you stick with the positivity, and what happens when you leave the sacred space and you're back in the real world. So there are a lot of tools, and it gets easier with time. For me, the way I stick with it is I set boundaries. If you got to go to work, you got to go to work. But if you can just shift the way that you view people at work, like everyone is doing the best they can with what they have. And try to, instead of seeing, you know, look inside and look for their light, because we all have one, and look into their heart. And well, even if they're yelling at you, even if it doesn't sound good, you know, look past that and look into their heart. And what happens when you do that, that's all you're going to see, and they're going to feel it, and they'll start to mirror that back to you. Okay, so then you can set boundaries too with the people that are bringing you down, that you don't want to be around. Then set boundaries, you know, like I had to set a lot of boundaries, like friendships changed, and even with certain, you know, people that I was very close with, I had to say, I'm changing this. I will not take this anymore. Because when you allow people to talk to you a certain way or to treat you a certain way, and it's trained behavior, just like you train a dog. We train everyone in our lives how they can treat us. So that, and then immerse yourself in conversations like this. YouTube, iPods, there are so many people talking. I'll give you a list of them just to hop on and start listening to inspirational talks. Like I have people I'll just listen to on repeat, and you don't want to do it forced. Like if you're not feeling it, like turn on the music and like jive and have fun, because it's important to be in the energy of joy. But start submerging yourself with conversations, with online high vibrational communities, with, you know, get yourself in rooms like this as much as you can, and then it gets easier and easier and easier, and you also start to attract more people that are like-minded.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Does anyone else have any other questions? I want to do a big meditation, and then we'll do some questions, and I have some exciting giveaways too. So let's do one final meditation. I'll let everyone just sit in their seat for this one.